What's up, everybody? You're watching JoeBox TV, and I want to give a quick recap to the Spence Mikey Garcia fight. First things first, congratulations to Spence. He proved that not only is he one of the best fighters in the world pound for pound, but in my opinion, he's definitely the best welterweight in the world right now. Bottom line, I whiffed on this prediction. I was completely wrong. Gotta take a L here. Coming in, I figured that Mikey Garcia's ring IQ technique would be too much. I thought he would be able to outsmart Spence. I was going with the upset, but surprisingly enough, Spence stood right in the middle of the ring, outboxed Mikey Garcia, controlled the range with his 3-inch height advantage, 4-inch reach advantage, and even those who were picking Spence, as most were, believed that he would just walk Garcia down, overpower him, and maybe in the later rounds the power would be too much for the smaller Garcia to handle. That was the prediction of most, but it turns out Spence showed he's multi-dimensional, and I think everyone was surprised about how well Spence was able to box here. I know I definitely was. I know I was just looking at Spence as just a pressure fighter with explosive speed and power. I didn't think he could outbox him, but he did. Spence's left hand was landing at will. Garcia had no answers, and he admitted he couldn't get into any kind of a rhythm at any point. I only gave him one round. The second round, I had 119-109 for Spence. Masterful performance. Now, before I say this, I commend Mikey Garcia for going up 2 weight divisions from lightweight to welterweight and challenging the top dog of welterweight. He gets more points than some of the welterweights for that. I commend him for it for daring to be great. However, I was very disappointed with his performance on Saturday night. Bottom line, I don't think he showed enough urgency. He tried to outbox Spence throughout the first half of the fight. I thought he would be able to, but he wasn't. As I said, Spence controlled the fight by using his height and reach, laying that left hand at will, completely neutralized Mikey Garcia's jab. And what frustrated me, because I was hoping that Garcia would win due to my prediction. I wanted to be right about that upset pick. Once he wasn't able to outbox him, that's when I was hoping he would make the adjustment and shift it into the next gear. But he didn't. He was throwing one punch at a time. And he would throw the right hand and land it at time on the southpaw Spence. But he didn't follow it up. He didn't throw nearly enough combinations, Mikey Garcia. Not only that, he didn't control range. When I said that Garcia would be able to control range in my prediction video, I knew that he was 3 inches shorter and at a 4-inch reach disadvantage. What I meant was, I thought he would be able to stand outside of Spence's reach, and then, whenever he needed to, dart inside and land his combinations. In other words, always be conscious of that distance. Always be right up close to him, or be too far away. Instead, Garcia stood in the same spot, right at the end of Spence's reach throughout the entire fight. Never really adjusted, and even though he does rely on distance more than he does head movement, there was a major lack of head movement from Mikey Garcia. I guess I'm just being more critical of Garcia here because, unlike most, I predicted him to win. And I thought the guy that I'm used to seeing didn't seem to show up. And I was puzzled by that. Also, on a few different occasions, after rounds that he clearly lost, he raised his hand as if he either thought he won the round or was happy to make it out of the round. I thought he was fighting largely to survive in the second half. I get that Spence's power may have shaken him up. I think he did catch him with the left hand or something. He landed something early that made Mikey Garcia very hesitant to throw any combinations. I get that Spence is stronger and more powerful. I think after Garcia felt Spence's power, he was hesitant about overcommitting and didn't want to be countered. He didn't want to throw any combinations. Like I said, he would land that right hand, and then he would flinch as if he was too leery of a counter, and that really stopped him from getting any sustained momentum. Again, I don't want to take anything away from Garcia's willingness to move up 2 weight classes and take on this challenge. And I also don't want to take anything away from Spence's masterful performance. He proved he's among the pound-for-pound elite. I don't recall the exact CompuBox numbers, but Spence landed over 300 punches in the fight. I believe Garcia landed 75. I think Garcia would be well advised to move back down to lightweight. As for Spence, I think I would rather see him in the ring with Terrence Crawford. I think that's one of the biggest fights, if not the biggest fight you can make in boxing. That's probably 2 of the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport right now. Manny Pacquiao looks like a great possibility. He was there in Dallas, Texas, and confronted Spence in the post-fight interview. Didn't seem super anxious about the possibility of a fight, but he kind of gave the impression that he'd be open to it. So I assume he's there in Texas for a reason. Pacquiao was. I think I would rather see Spence Crawford, and maybe that's just because I think Pacquiao gets dominated by Spence, and for a long time Pacquiao was one of my favorite fighters. But if he wants to take on the top dog of the division, let him do it. He's a future Hall of Famer, and like I said, he's one of my favorite fighters ever. I just have a feeling that it could turn out to be the end of Pacquiao's career potentially. I think he'd probably get beaten fairly one-sided by Spence. I think he probably goes the distance. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Pacquiao can turn back the clock. It'd be interesting. But I think Spence Crawford is the best matchup at 147. Now let's briefly talk about the co-feature. David Benavidez against J. Leon Love. David Benavidez takes care of business, as I expected, and brought home the W for Arizona. I was impressed at how quickly he was able to dispose of J. Leon Love. I figured he'd win probably unanimous decision. I thought he could stop him late, but I didn't think that if he stopped him it would be that early. He stopped him in the 2nd round. And even though he's at 168 pounds, he has the hand speed of a featherweight or lightweight, it seems. He can string together 8 punches in a row or 10 punches in a row quite impressively and accurately. I really like his poise. He's a phenomenal prospect. Well, he won a world title, so I guess you can put him past prospect status. Ultimately, he lost that title due to the positive test for cocaine. He's back on track, though, however, and admitted it was an embarrassment for him when he did test positive. This is a great comeback victory for David Benavidez over J. Leon Love, who at one point was one of the main fighters of the Mayweather promotion stable. I think overall maybe the undercard left something to be desired. And that's mostly because of the one-sided matchups. I mean, McJoe Arroyo hung in there, did the best he could, but Luis Neri's power was too much for him to handle. Stopped him in the middle rounds, round 6 I believe. Multiple knockdowns. And the Areola Augustine fight was entertaining while it lasted, but only went 3 rounds. Tell me what you guys thought of the overall card, particularly the main event. What would you like to see next for Earl Spence? And for Mikey Garcia, what's your overall thoughts on the fight? Before I wrap this up, I want to say, stay tuned for my next video. I'm going to have a full breakdown of the welterweight division. And I'm going to call it the State of the Welterweight Division. I'm going to start a new series where I break down the current state of various weight divisions in boxing. It should be good. I think you'll enjoy it. Again, let me know what you thought of the fight. Until next time, JoeBox TV